a mixed up stream this morning here. Let's get going. What are we doing? This needs to go more this way. So are we up? Are we on? What are we doing here? Mute is on. Stream is okay. I don't see. Oh, here we are. Good morning. Good morning, guys. Familiar names again every day. Picking up almost where we left off yesterday. Okay, I think we're ready here. I've been a bit of an adjustment here. As you know, if you're on the previous stream, I carved the one side of her body here, and then I thought it was finished, but I found out there was a second side. I ran into a small problem this morning when I was getting ready for this. The curves here, the ones I've carved before, the curves went down this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. And these other curves are basically a reflection. The curves are this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. It turned out that when I made my copy of the hunched up, this was all done at 600 DPI, which is not so much actually. 600 DPI is pretty fine for when we're looking at things, but it's not so fine down at the end of the point of this knife. And it turns out that the copy I was using, the curves that were this way came out pretty clear. But the curves that were 90 degrees rotated, the way it came out on my copy machine, the laser printer, they were all blurred. It was just the way the dots, I guess on a laser printer, maybe the dots that are in a vertical orientation and the dots that are in a horizontal orientation, whichever way you're looking at it, come out quite differently. You know, the thing is actually sort of like a raster scan. A laser comes across in patterns. Anyway, the ones that I've already carved, these were actually quite clear on the tracing, but the ones on this side were all blurred together, and I couldn't even see where they were one by one. So I found this out last night, and what I did was I took my original master copy again. I rotated it 90 degrees, and I printed out again just this center part of the design. And now they're clear. These ones are blurry, but it doesn't matter, they're finished. And these ones are all now quite clear and sharp. But the problem was, of course, because I'm always already partway through this carving, to get it pasted down in exactly the right orientation. And that wasn't trivial. So what I had to do is, maybe you can see what I did. I cut little triangles here and there on the thing so that I could get those triangles to match up almost with places that I had carved. And just a few minutes ago I put it down, put a bit of glue on and pasted it down. And I think I got it in the right place. I'm not quite sure. I think it's close enough. And these lines are quite a bit more clear now for me to carve. A little bit more clear anyway. And we're going to make it a bit more clear by putting a bit of oil on them. Bit of oil at the end here. Look at that, makes it much sharper and clear. I'm not going to oil the whole thing because it'll get too wet and soggy by the time I get there. Okay, let's go. This is much better, much better, much better. I don't know if it's showing clearly you can probably see it in the stream. These are much clearer lines now. That was going to be quite a job, you know. Yeah, it looks okay. All right, let's do this first section here. The oil also helps soften the wood up a little bit, Too much is not so good, but just a little bit of softening doesn't hurt. If it gets too soggy, you can't cut sharply, cleanly. Last night here in Asaksa, it was a Friday night. And anyway, normally a Friday night is kind of noisy and busy and raucous out there anyway. But last night was just insane. The way the calendar works this year. Japan is closed for 1, 2, and 3 in January. All companies and offices are closed. And shopping is still open and stuff like that. But, normal companies are closed 1, 2, and 3. Now, because of the way the calendar works this year, 30 and 31 of December, Saturday and Sunday, which, companies like that are closed anyway. So normal corporate employees, salaryman type employees this year have 5 straight days off. And last night was Friday night, so they are off now for 5 days. So this was party time in Asaksa last night. And the room where I sleep overlooks the front street, and didn't bother me. I was too tired. I went down for the count anyway, but it was party time. Japanese style. It's not so raucous. We're not talking about broken windows and stuff. And there's no drunks sleeping out there, and there's no puke in the street and stuff like that. But they were pretty happy. And we too, yesterday, the shop, the last 2 days, Thursday and Friday, have been the busiest 2 days we've ever had in the 3 years since we opened, And we're on short staff. Yesterday it was just me and Shiba-san by ourselves, And today it's just me and Kawai-san. All the other staff has gone back to their families. So I'm not quite sure what to expect now today and tomorrow. If it keeps up in the last 2 days, then we're just going to be, I don't even know what to say. It's good news. We're happy to have people here. We're happy to, sell stuff and do the parties. But God, it's exhausting. But yeah, we're going out with a bang this year. Absolutely out with a bang. There's something in the question box. Just a sec here. Let's have a look. Oh boy, oh boy. Where are we? Twitch questions. There's something in there. Yeah, interesting. Good question. Good question. This gets asked pretty much every time I do this sort of thing, but it's a good question. Where is it here? Where am I? Okay. We've got a line here. There's a body line in black. And then coming up against it, there's hair. And some of the hairs actually even cross the body line onto the other side. The outside's actually already done. These hairs are cut. We've got the same thing over here. The same thing happens in many places. Also, in other places in a print, let me find an example here. Here we are. We've got lines, and another line comes and intersects it. Or here, a line, and another line intersects it. And this person just saw me carve right now. He saw me carve the line, and then my knife went straight through. Chop, just like this. Back on the hairs here. I just put my knife straight through, cut. And it may look like I cut off all those hairs. And what I was doing was very lightly. I was really just scratching. I'm just putting a scratch mark in here rather than cutting deeply. The knife is it's just enough to make a visible scratch. And the reason why we do this first is because if I cut these spaces, this box and this box and this box, if I cut them all out individually, this line will have no flow. It'll just be a bunch of disjoint small segments. And the most important thing by far about all these prints is the lines must flow. So it's a bit of a paradox. I want to cut this way, but there's a bunch of other lines in the way. So simply, as I said, I just do it with a very light scratch so we can see where the thing is. And then when I cut up to it, I'm now plunging the knife in. Here we go. The knife is plunged in there quite a bit deeper. This is a difficult one because there's two hairs at the same time here, but let me just put it. Cut that. And now I'm going to plunge in again here on this one, quite deeper. These are real cuts. I'm going to triangle now, but this side is not cut. This side is just scratched. So I'm going to go in here now and cut deeper. And if I've got it all right, the triangle will, at some point here, pop out. There we go. You can hit a click and it pops out. So the integrity of this line has been preserved. Now these things have actually been cut. There's a little cut. My knife passed through this hair. This has actually been cut. But remember that the hair isn't supported by that part. The hair is coming up organically from the base of the wood underneath. The little scratch on the top of it doesn't make any difference. And these scratches are almost never visible in the finished print, but sometimes now and then, on a really delicate printing job, you can see, whenever this cross lines like this, you can see a tiny white scratch where the knife did go through. This next section, this is tight. These are really close together. This is far and away the whole most difficult part of this entire print. This next section now. This is not going to be easy. Oh, come on there, little triangles popping out. I'm so slow at this, you know. You saw that video, those of you who saw the video last week, you know, that I showed Midas carving. You know. There was some discussion on the chat while I was showing that video about whether the video was at real speed or speeded up or whatever. I had a meeting last night with Kubota-san, the experienced printer, the most experienced printer we're using in our group here. He's older than me. I'm 66. He must be 72 or 3 or something like that. He trained as a printer back in the post-war period, and he's now one of the. I guess he perhaps might be the oldest one still steadily working here. So there's probably a couple of guys older than him, but they're just sort of fooling around now at this point. He's still steadily producing. He just finished a group of the Infestation print for us, the one based on Samus. And he's now about to start the printing on the the Dragon's Gift design that Jed did. He'll be working over the New Year's period. You know, we didn't ask him to do this. Please, abandon your family and work for us over the New Year's. It's just the way he does things. He's going to sit in his workshop by himself. A lot of Japanese workers just going home and stuff is not so inviting or attractive. Anyway, so I went to visit him last night to take those blocks and to show him the test printing that we did and stuff like that. I also took my computer with him because I wanted to show him that video and ask him about this. So I didn't show him the whole 40 minutes. He didn't have time for that. But we looked at the part there where Maida-san was carving, and then the part where Ono-san was retying his baron. And these are parts that when we were showing the video on Twitch on last Monday, there's people like, no way, that can't be real speed. And a couple of people commented, looks like 1.5, maybe 2. And I don't think it's that fast at all. It's not. That's not true. But X feet per second has it been, increased. And he looked at it and he said, no, what do you mean? That's it. That's normal. That's what, he knew Maida-san. He worked with him. They were together there. He says, no, that's how the guy worked. What are you talking about? Speed it up. He just was amazed that I would even be suggesting such a thing, And he asked me, he said, Dave, you know how these guys work. Why are you saying this? I'm relaxed. I'm just passing on the what's the word? The hesitancy or the people who don't quite believe what they're seeing, from the outsiders. And he said, well, no, that's it. There's nothing speeded up about that. And that's 2 guys now. I've asked Kubota-san, and I've showed that same film, to ask us on the carver, who again, he's exactly my age. He's 66 now. He trained in that post-war period, 60s and 70s. And he said exactly the same thing. There's nothing artificial about that video at all. He said the same thing as me, that that's obviously not the guy's real carving bench. It's a faked-up studio, for the purposes of the video. Clearly, there's nobody who would be hammering like that without a bench top. So he said that part of it's faked. That's not his normal room. But the speed, he said, whatever, that's it. That's normal. That's how those guys work. Get over it. So I don't know. There's always going to be a question mark about that, I think, unless there's there's some traces in the video itself that technically show, that can technically prove, I guess the only way is to go back and get the actual film. I don't know what it was, 8mm or 16mm or something, I don't know. The Watanabe company, whether or not they still have it. And if they do, presumably that will tell us what we need to know, because I don't think you can, well, maybe they could adjust the camera, I don't know. There's also another aspect to that thing, about filming a worker. When we do our normal work, and when a camera is here, TV camera or whatever, things are different, of course. Somebody's sitting there watching you and they say, oops, stop, no, please start. Oh, no, stop, move your hand over here. It's really bothersome. It can be really bothersome. And it can be really disruptive. So usually what we do, and we've talked about this in the videos before, we have a what we call a TV block or a demonstration block or something. And then does Maeda-san, does he work really super fast just to show off? Look, guys, look how good I am. And, I chatted about that with Asuka-san. He says, they wouldn't think about such a thing. He says, neither does he. He said, when the camera's here, I just do my normal work, whatever. You try and show off and do silly things, you're just going to end up screwing up. And anyway, whatever. Just the purpose of the thing is to show your work, so just do it. None of us are trying to look how fast I am. There's no purpose to that. Okay, let's get a bit more oil here. Is their chat worth looking at here? I don't know what's going on. Yeah, you're still going to argue with me about the video. What can I say? I think part of it too, we're seeing a video. This was film originally. We're seeing a video now. And when you see like old 1920s movies and stuff, the people's movements are, this funny and jerky Buster Keaton type movement, and sometimes they seem fast when it's actually a funny jerkiness. So there might be part of it like this, the transition from the two formats. Might be a factor, going from one format to another format. The original, what is an 8mm film is X frames per second, and now we're looking at with a video produced at some different X per second. So there's a transition there, I think. Anyway, I don't know. I'll repeat what those guys have said. These are very experienced craftsmen who have no reason to specifically, try and bend the truth here. They know themselves, both Kubota-san and Asuka Sensei, the two guys I've talked about, they themselves do not and cannot work at that speed, but they both learned under men who do work like that. And maybe they're being a bit inclined to praise their master. I don't know. No idea. Anyway, there it is, for what it's worth. Very experienced men feel that that's natural. just dropped something off my desk. No idea what it was. Sorry for not watching the chat a bit more closely, but this is a bit concentrated work here.